हिंदी भारत की सबसे महत्वपूर्ण भाषाओं में से एक है। यह भारत में सबसे व्यापक रूप में इस्तेमाल की जाने वाली देशी भाषाओं में से एक है।
हाँ, मैं अनन्या से अनुरोध करती हूँ कि वो कबीर दास की संत कबीर दास की कुछ साखियाँ हमारे समक्ष प्रस्तुत करे।
धन्यवाद सहस्रा। नमस्ते, मेरा नाम अनन्या है और आज मैं कबीर दास की कुछ साखियाँ प्रस्तुत करूंगी। कबीर दास जी का पूरा नाम है संत कबीर। साखिया का मतलब है प्रत्यक्ष ज्ञान। यह साखियाँ उनके अपने जीवन से जुड़ी हुई थी। मैं ऐसी कुछ साखियाँ प्रस्तुत करूंगी। पहली साखी। जाति न पूछो साथ की, पूछ लीजिए ज्ञान। मोल करो दरबार का, पड़ा रहन दो म्यान। इसमें कबीरदास जी कहते हैं कि हमें सज्जन पुरुष से उसकी जाति नहीं पूछनी चाहिए, अपितु उसका ज्ञान देखना चाहिए। अर्थात मनुष्य को उसकी जाति के आधार पर नहीं, उसके ज्ञान के आधार पर परखना चाहिए, क्योंकि जब हम तलवार खरीदने जाते हैं तो उसकी कीमत म्यान देखकर नहीं लगाते हैं। दूसरी साखी। आवत गारी एक है, उलटत हुई अनेक। कह कबीर नहीं उलटिया, वही एक की एक। इसमें कबीरदास जी कहते हैं कि जब हमें कोई गाली देता है तब वह एक ही होती है, लेकिन अगर हम पलटकर उससे भी देते हैं तो वो बढ़ते बढ़ते अनेक हो जाती है। इसलिए जब हम उसकी एक गाली पर ही ध्यान नहीं देंगे तो वह वही खत्म हो जाएगी, अर्थात वो एक की एक रह जाएगी। कबीर घास न निंदिए जो पाऊ तली हुई, उड़ी पड़े जब आखी में खरी दुहेली हुई। इसमें कबीरदास जी कहते हैं कि हमें कभी घास को छोटा समझकर उसे दबाना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि जब घास का एक छोटा सा तिनका भी आंख में गिर जाता है तो वह बहुत दुख देता है। अर्थात हमें छोटा समझकर किसी पर अत्याचार नहीं करना चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
वाह, यह बहुत अच्छा था।
हिंदी में जब सिनेमा ने बोलना पार्ट बढ़ा, जिसमें हमने सिनेमा में आए बहुत से बदलाव के बारे में जानकारी हासिल की। भारत की पहली बोलती फिल्म आलम आरा में अपनाई गई प्रकाश योजना तथा ध्वनि संकलन में आए बदलाव को विज्ञान के साथ जोड़ते हुए प्रस्तुत करने जा रहे हैं रणवीर और तनिष्क।
Tell me if you can see my screen. Okay. Sorry.
Money.
Can you? Can you
Yes.
see? Okay. हिंदुस्तान और दुनिया की सबसे पहली फिल्म क्या थी? By me, Tanishk Jain, and my friend Ranveer Honde. Over to Ranveer.
दुनिया की सबसे पहली फिल्म क्या थी, मतलब किस रूप में थी? रौंदे गार्डन सीन। दुनिया की सबसे पुरानी जीवित चलचित्र जो लगातार वास्तविक क्रिया दिखाती है उसे रौंदे गार्डन सीन कहा जाता है। और यह फिल्म 1888 में आई थी। यह फ्रांसीसी आविष्कारक लुई ले प्रिंस द्वारा निर्देशित एक लघु फिल्म थी, जबकि यह सिर्फ 2.11 सेकंड लंबा है। यह तकनीकी रूप से एक फिल्म है।
दुनिया की सबसे पहली फिल्म हिंदुस्तान की सबसे पहली फिल्म कौन सी थी? हिंदुस्तान जगत की सबसे पहली फिल्म आलम आरा थी और यह भारत की सबसे पहली बोलती फिल्म टॉकी थी जो उसकी सन 1931 में आई थी और आलम आरा के निर्देशक अर्देशीर ईरानी थे। आलम आरा का प्रथम प्रदर्शन मुंबई तब बंबई के मैजेस्टिक सिनेमा में 14 मार्च 1931 में हुआ था। ओवर टू रणवीर।
इंडिया की सबसे पहली फिल्म आलम आरा थी। क्या आपने कभी जानने की कोशिश की है कि उस समय कौन सा सिस्टम साउंड यज हुआ करता था? अगर नहीं तो आज मैं और तनिष्क आपको इसके बारे में जानकारी देंगे।
हिंदुस्तान की सबसे पहली फिल्म आरमरा के समय कौन सी तकनीक और सिस्टम ध्वनि सिस्टम साउंड क्या और कौन से थे? उस समय भारतीय फिल्मों में पार्श्व गायन शुरू नहीं हुआ था, इसलिए इस गीत को हारमोनियम और तबले के संगीत के साथ सजीव रिकॉर्ड किया गया था।
पुरानी फिल्मों और नवनीतम फिल्मों के बीच सिस्टम ध्वनि का अंतर। पुरानी फिल्म सिनेमा की शुरुआत से ऑडियो और विजुअल मनोरंजन को पूरी तरह से विलय करने के लिए बहुत सारे प्रयोगात्मक प्रयास किए गए थे। लगभग 40 अलग अलग किस्मों के साथ टॉकीज के हृदय
विषय
को
हृदय।
हिट करने से पहले कई वन ऑफ 1926 में डॉन जॉन जैसी प्रस्तुतियों में एक स्कोर और ध्वनि प्रभाव दिखाया गया था, लेकिन कोई संवाद नहीं था। यह तब तक नहीं था जब तक कि जय सिंगर ने 1927 में दर्शकों से बात नहीं की थी कि बात कर रही तस्वीर क्रांति ने वास्तव में हॉलीवुड और उससे पर को पकड़ लिया। ओवर टू तनिष्क।
नवीनतम फिल्मों। आज लगभग सभी व्यावसायिक फिल्मों में एनालॉग प्रारूप के रूप में डॉल्बी स्टीरियो है, और कुछ फिल्मों में वास्तव में सभी 3 डिजिटल प्रारूप भी हैं। थैंक यू।
वाह, बहुत बढ़िया। ये बोलते हुए हम अब अगले सब्जेक्ट पर जाएंगे।
SST is an amazing subject that teaches us about our country, our history, and our land. It is a diverse subject with a lot to offer.
I now call upon Rahini and Brinda to present their project on how the education system was before independence.
Thank you, Ananya. Just a minute. Is my screen visible?
Independence made by Brinda and Rahini. Great. Welcome. The education system in India before independence made by Brinda and Rahini. Great.
So basically in the ancient days, the education was taught orally by either the sages or the scholars, and the information was passed from one generation to the other. So it was passed to the next generation. So after the use of letters, the literature was taken in the form of writing on palm leaves or either the barks of trees, which helped in spreading the written literature. The temples and community centers formed the role of schools. Later, the Gurukul system of education came into existence.
So what was the Gurukul system of education? It was a residential schooling system. So students lived in the home of the teacher or the acharya, and they resided there till the end of their education. It was prevalent during the Vedic age, when students were taught how to live a cultured and disciplined life. So a variety of topics were taught at the Gurukuls. These included religion, scriptures, philosophy, literature, warfare, statecraft, medicine, astrology, and history. So the system is considered one of the oldest and most effective systems of education even today. And it was based on principles that we try to impart in students in modern day learning. In Gurukuls, everybody was considered equal and class differences did not matter. The Guru as well as the Shishya used to live at the same place. The relationship between the Guru and Shishya was very sacred, and no fees was required to be paid by the student. However, the student had to offer a Guru Dakshina, which was kind of like a token of respect paid to the teacher. Guru Dakshina was mainly in the form of money or a special task that the student had to perform for the teacher. So the main focus of Gurukuls was on imparting knowledge to the students in a natural surrounding where the Shishyas lived with each other. and it encouraged the spread of brotherhood, humanity, love, and discipline. The essential teachings were through group discussions, self-learning, etc. A few principles on which, based on which modern education is imparted in students. Focus was not only given on academics but also on arts, sports, crafts, singing, that was believed to develop their intelligence and their critical thinking. Activities such as yoga, meditation, chanting, which generated positivity and peace of mind in students, were also encouraged in gurukuls. It was mandatory for students to perform daily chores, which imparted practical skills and discipline in students. All these helped in the personality development and increased the students' confidence, sense of discipline, intellect, and mindfulness, which is necessary even today to face the world.
So later, there was this flourishing of higher education at the Nalanda, Takshashila University, Ujjain, and Vikrashila universities. So they were, in the education, there were some many important subjects. They were mainly art, architecture, painting, logic, grammar, philosophy, astronomy, literature, Buddhism, Hinduism, Arthashastra, law, and medicine. Now each university has its own speciality. So in particular fields of studies. So, for example, Takshashila had specialized in the study of medicine, while the Ujjain was in astronomy. And the biggest center of education was Nalanda. So, as it was the biggest center, it had all the branches of knowledge, and it had around 10,000 students in its university.
So, the Nalanda University. The Nalanda University had a long and illustrious life, which lasted for about 800 years, from 5th century to the 12th century CE. It was a completely residential university, and it believed to have housed 2,000 teachers and 10,000 students. So, the Nalanda University imparted the holistic nature of knowledge, and it sought to impart this in the university. It suggested a seamless coexistence between nature and man. So it encouraged harmony between people and the nature, and it tried to connect people to the nature. So the profound knowledge of Nalanda's teachers attracted scholars from different places, including China, Korea, Japan, Tibet, Mongolia, Turkey, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. These scholars have left records about the ambience, architecture, and learning at this unique university. Some of the scholars who visited the Nalanda University include Xuanzang and Yiking, who went to Nalanda in the 7th century CE. They have given vivid accounts of Nalanda. They have noted that as many as 100 discourses took place in Nalanda on a daily basis in a variety of disciplines through the methods of debate and discussion. So, education was imparted in the form of debate and discussions.
Okay, now Nalanda was the famous Buddhist monastery at that period. So Xuanzang and other pilgrims spent time studying in Nalanda, which was in Bihar. So Xuanzang described it as the teachers are men of the highest ability and talent. They follow the teachings of the Buddha in all sincerity. The rules of the monastery are strict and everyone has to follow them. Discussions are held throughout the day, and the old and the young mutually help one another. Learned men from different cities come here to settle their doubts. The gatekeeper asks new entrants difficult questions. They're allowed to enter only after they have been able to answer these. 7 or 8 out of every 10 are not able to answer.
Education system in the colonial era. So, a number of Christian missionaries came to India in order to spread Christianity, and they established institutions. So, to propagate the spread of Christian religion, English was seen as a medium through which education was imparted. A few 18th century company officials became scholars of Sanskrit, Persian, and Tamil. These people were called the Orientalists. They promoted Oriental learning, which was classical demotic learning in the indigenous languages of the natives. However, they were overpowered by the views of the Anglicists, those who did not believe in the Oriental learning, and they advocated the introduction of institutions for Western learning. And they believed that English should be the medium of learning for all schools in India. The Charter of 1830, which threw light on the policy of education in India, accepted that it was the responsibility of the government for spreading education in India. So, the Charter of 1813 was a very controversial topic. It created a controversy known as the Occidental Oriental controversy. So, the supporters of the Oriental view, which believed that people should be taught in the old Indian education system, which was of pathshalas, but whereas the Occidental view ridiculed the Indian system, and they attempted to introduce English literature and Western science, and they wanted to impart knowledge with English as the medium of learning.
Now we are going to talk about Thomas Babington Macaulay. So this Macaulay came to India during the violent Oriental. He came to India during the violent Oriental and Occidental controversy as the law member of the council or the governor general. So he played an important role in resolving this controversy, and his famous minute called the Macaulay Minute paved the way for the British system of education in India. So he strongly criticized the Eastern system of education and culture by saying that a single shelf of good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia, which is very wrong in my perspective. Then the most famous minute, Macaulay Minute, expressed his mission to create a class of persons who should be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect.
The Woods Dispatch. So, Charles Wood, who was the chairman of the Board of Control of the East India Company, introduced a charter in 1854, which came to be known as the Woods Dispatch because it was introduced by Charles Wood, and he was the main architect of it. So, Wood's Dispatch is a long document which consists of 100 paragraphs, and it deals with various topics of great educational importance. So, the Wood's Dispatch defined educational policy in India and as the diffusion of European knowledge, which is the widespread of European knowledge. The Woods Dispatch was seen to be as the foundation of the present system of education in India. So it was the basic structure based on which the system of education exists in India today. Due to the dispatch, education had a structure with indigenous schools and primary schools at the base and higher education, which included universities, at the top. Further, departments were installed in each province to look after the state of education, and it recommended the foundation of graded schools.
So now the Pathashalas during British rule. The British government used education as a weapon and a tool for promoting their own interests. So during the British rule, the Pathashalas in India were having 20 students which were taught. So the Pathashalas, the classes were held at the temple or under the trees, at shops, or at the corner of some villages. So when the British decided to reform the Pathashalas, they appointed some pandits, which were the government pandits, to improve the teaching standards of the Pathashalas. So whoever actually agreed to these new rules and everything, they got grants from the government, but the teachers who wanted their own education didn't get any support. So British laid stress on the teaching of English, its language, its literature, and later the English languages were neglected. So one surveyor, he told that he found that the first report in Bihar and Bengal had over 1 lakh village schools around the 1830s, even before William Adam, the person who found the first report. Even before William Adam, another surveyor of Madras, he found that each village had at least one school. So then later a senior official from Bombay, he noted that there was hardly a village without a school. So at least each village had one school. Then later in 1882, one person also saw that education in Punjab was similar to the other states. From their surveys, they discovered that the education happened in the Pathshalas or the Gurukuls.
Thank you.
Wow, that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's really amazing how our country has changed so much, isn't it?
Yes, it is. With that, now I call upon Raghav to present his topic about the Age of Enlightenment.
Thank you. All right. I hope you can see my screen. I hope you can
Yes.
see. Okay.
It's a bit tiny.
All right. Just a second. Now is it a bit? Now is it bigger?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Raghav, and I'm a student of grade 8A. And this is my presentation on the Age of Enlightenment that took place in Europe. Okay, so now the Age of Enlightenment, in short, was basically a movement that was started in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries in Europe. And this Age of Enlightenment, what it aimed to do was to separate Europe from the ideas of the Catholic Church. So now, during this period of time in Europe, the Catholic Church was the sole presider of everything. I mean, they controlled everything that happened in Europe because of religious authority. And anybody who went against the word of the Catholic Church, they were severely punished. For example, you have your Copernicus, who was burnt at the stake for believing the earth was round when the Catholic Church said it was flat. And then you have Galileo Galilei, who was put under house arrest for believing Copernicus's theories. And there are many other examples of the Catholic Church suppressing people who didn't follow its word. And so now, during this period of time, several people got fed up of the Catholic Church and decided that we're going to start a movement that encourages people to think freely. It encourages liberty, it encourages democracy, and it also encourages people to go and pursue knowledge. So then that this period of time, the 1600s, the 1500s, the 1600s, and the 1700s, this period of time became to be known as the Age of Enlightenment. Sometimes even the 19th century is included as a part of the Age of Enlightenment. Okay, so now when it comes to the Age of Enlightenment, I'm going to talk about two main things. That is the philosophy during this period of time and the science during this period of time. Okay, so now let's start with the philosophy of the Age of Enlightenment. So now there's a British historian by the name of Jonathan Israel, who specializes in Dutch history. However, he has covered aspects of the Age of Enlightenment. So now he says that philosophy during this period of time, it can be classified into two parts. That is, if the first one is called moderate philosophy and the second one is called radical enlightenment. Okay, so now what is moderate philosophy? So now the group of people who believed in moderate philosophy, what they said is that we agree with these group of people who are encouraging free thinking and splitting from the Catholic Church. But however, we also agree with the views of the Catholic Church. So why not we merge their ideas together and create one balance between these new reforms and the already existing uh, discourse of the Catholic Church. So this came to be known as moderate philosophy. And the main proponents or the most people who inspired moderate philosophy are some very famous people like Rene Descartes, John Locke, and Christian Wolff. Now, Rene Descartes made that famous quote, "I think, therefore I am." Basically, with what he said in this quote is that in order for something to be a living being, they need to have the ability to think. Then you have the radical enlightenment. Now, what is radical enlightenment? Now, basically, when I was talking about the people who encouraged ideas such as liberty and free thinking and democracy, now what they said is that the church is completely wrong, it's terrible, and we should not follow the rules of the church. Instead, let's throw out these new ideas that previously mentioned ideas, and let's create a completely new society based on that. And we should eradicate the power that the church holds. And the main proponent for radical enlightenment was the Dutch philosopher who was of Portuguese origin, Spinoza. Okay, so now during the 18th century, that's in the 1700s, the city of Paris in France became the center for philosophy and science. And there were two main people who were responsible for the evolving of philosophy and science in Paris. And these two people were Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And both of these people, they led the movement, as I previously mentioned, and they had a new idea. What they said is that if you're running society, let's say you run a country, you should always make your decisions based upon reason or based upon logic. Now, how was this different from what the Catholic Church believed? Now, the Catholic Church says that if you have a problem, you should always make decisions that are based on your faith. I mean, if you're Christian, then you make decisions based on the rules of Christianity. If you are Muslim, then you should make decisions based on the teachings of Islam, and if you are Hindu, then you should make decisions based on teachings of Hinduism. However, what these people are saying, the people who started the Age of Enlightenment, especially Voltaire and Rousseau, what they said is that we should create a society based upon reason, in which all of our decisions are very well informed. Okay, now two more important figures in philosophy, Montesquieu and Immanuel Kant. So Montesquieu, he brought about the idea of the separation of powers in government. Now, as you all know, the separation of powers is practiced in India as well as the United Nations. You know, your judiciary, executive, legislative. This idea is practiced in India to this day, and it was introduced by Montesquieu during the Age of Enlightenment. And you have a very famous figure, the German Immanuel Kant. Now, during the time he was alive, this idea that society should be run by reason, it started slowly declining because the Catholic Church suppressed those who did not believe it. But then he sought to reconcile, or he sought to reintroduce this new idea of pragmatism, or running a society based upon logic. Okay, now we will cover the science that was in the Enlightenment. Okay, so now science was one of the most played a very important role or pivotal role during this period of time, because many key figures during the Enlightenment, they had very distinguished and meritable scientific backgrounds. Okay, so now scientific progress during the Age of Enlightenment was immense. One of the most important most important discoveries would be the discovery of carbon dioxide by Joseph Black, and also the invention of the steam engine by James Watt. Now, if you remember my previous presentation on the scientific advancements in World War II, his grandson, Watson Watt, he was the inventor of radar. And the first chemical power plant was created in Paris as a result of the research of the famous Antoine Lavoisier. Okay, so now the Montgolfier brothers launched they launched the first manned balloon, hot air balloon flight on the 21st of November 1768 in Paris. Okay, now the last slide. Now Leonard Euler was a very important figure during this period of time as well. He helped expand mathematics greatly, more specifically algebra, topology, and geometry. And again, as I previously mentioned, Enlightenment science valued practicality over. Okay, so Enlightenment science, what it's saying is that rather than learning from textbooks, it would be much better if we taught people using practicality or using experiments. So this doctrine or this idea became widely popular at that period of time. So if one were to study science during this period of time, they would mainly learn physics and then other sub-subjects such as anatomy, geology, chemistry, and natural history of science. Okay, now before the Age of Enlightenment, universities, they were considered as the sole authority of all scientific knowledge. It was sort of like a very trusted source. Like if the universities are not saying this, then I won't believe it. However, during the Age of Enlightenment, scientific societies, they grew in large numbers, and because of this, people started to view the ideas of scientific societies more than that of universities. And on that note, I end the presentation. I hope you have enjoyed it and found it fun.
Wow, I got to learn so many things.
Moving on to the next project day. Math is an amazing subject with so many problems to solve and can be integrated everywhere in the universe. Now, I call upon Netra to present her topic about the contributions of ancient mathematicians, which is integrated with SST.
Thank you, Ananya. Ancient Mathematicians and Their Contribution by Netra Ulas. Introduction. Being a mathematician is hard. Only a few people have mastered this subject and achieved fame. Today, we will discuss some of the famous mathematicians and their contribution to mathematics. Euclid. Euclid was one among the famous mathematicians, and he was known as the father of geometry. His famous geometry contribution is referred to as the Euclidean geometry. He spent all his life working for mathematics and set a revolutionary contribution to geometry. Pythagoras. Pythagoras' theorem is very popular and an important mathematical formula to solve mathematical problems. Pythagoras discovered this prominent theorem and he became the father of Pythagoras' theorem. Pythagoras was from Greece, but he fled off to India in the later part of his life. Archimedes. Archimedes was a Greek scientist, a great mathematician, and a physician. He also worked his entire life in search of discovering mathematical formulas that are related to physics. The best contribution of Archimedes in mathematics is known as the invention of compound pulleys, antiquity, and screw pump. Thales of Miletus. Thales of Miletus was one of the most famous mathematicians from Greece. He was very skilled in geometry and used geometry as a means to calculate heights of pyramids and measure the distance of a ship from the shore. As he was also a philosopher, in the Thales theorem, he tries to apply geometry by using deductive reasoning and derives the conclusion of four corollaries. Aristotle. Aristotle was a great scholar. He had vast knowledge in various areas, including physics, mathematics, geology, metaphysics, medicine, biology, psychology. He was a student of Plato. Both of them together discovered many philosophical theories and contributed to mathematics and Platonism. He combines mathematics and philosophy in his treatise and uses mathematical science in three principal ways. Diophantus. His algebraic equations are quite easy and unique, so he was popularly known as the father of algebra. He wrote a series of books on algebra. He later gained popularity for his book Arithmetica, where a brief description with examples was given on the best solution for all algebraic equations and the theory related to numbers. Eratosthenes. He was a world-famous mathematician known for his unbelievable and exact calculation. He was the only mathematician who put efforts to calculate the Earth's circumference and calculated the Earth's axis tilt. Both his calculations are exact, and so he became famous worldwide. Hipparchus, the founder of trigonometry, was an intelligent mathematician and mythologist. He discovered the first trigonometric table in mathematics. He was the first person to develop a well-grounded process by which people can predict solar eclipses. Hieron of Alexandria. He was the one who discovered the square root of numbers. In today's mathematics, his formula is known as Hieron's formula. So he gained popularity and became known as the Hieron of Alexandria. Ptolemy was a mathematician. He was also a geographer, musician, writer, and astronomer. His contributions to mathematics were incredible. He wrote about mathematics, and among them, his best treatise was called Almagest. He also believed that in the universe, the position of the earth was in the center. Thank you.
That was really interesting. Now for some riddles.
Okay. Using only addition, add 8 eights to get the number 1000. Raise your hand for the answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Using only addition, add 8 eights to get the number 1000. Yes, Rahini? No one? Should I repeat the riddle again?
I think you should tell the answer.
Okay. So the answer is 888 plus 88 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 is equal to 1000.
Okay, so the next question. I add 6 to 11 and get 5. Why is this correct?
Yes, Rahini?
It's minus 6 plus 11.
Can you repeat?
That?
It's minus 6 plus 11.
Yeah, but 6 is not minus 6.
Okay.
We're not taking the absolute value here.
Anyone would like to? Okay, so I'm going to tell the answer. When it's 11 a.m., adding 6 hours makes it 5 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
आता आपण कार्यक्रमाच्या शेवटच्या टप्प्यावर पोहोचलो आहोत. आपले प्रेम, स्नेह आणि पाठिंबा यांच्या अमूल्य ठेवा मनाच्या गाभाऱ्यात कायम राहील. आता मी कार्यक्रमाच्या शेवटी आमच्या वर्गातील सर्व विद्यार्थ्यांनी सादर केलेल्या प्रकल्पाबद्दल त्यांचे खूप अभिनंदन करते. तुम्ही सगळ्या प्रेक्षकांनी इथे येऊन आम्हाला दिलेल्या प्रोत्साहनाबद्दल आपले खूप खूप धन्यवाद.
And on this note, we end our project day. Thank you all for tuning in on our projects. We hope you had a good time on viewing them as we did making them. And now we end the project day. Thank you.